Happy New Year. Woohoo. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see everybody again. I feel like it's been a long time for many of you. And nice to see, some new people too. So thank you so much for connecting. I feel like I completely went offline with these about midway through last year. Well, actually, I did go completely offline. It's been 2021, 2020, 2021 whirlwind, lots of change. And so I appreciate everyone joining me to welcome in this new potential for 2022. And that it's the new moon as well and in Capricorn. And so I'm a Capricorn, or at least that's the sign I was born under. So I'm a little familiar with the goat qualities of Capricorn. And I think we actually have a couple other Capricorn, at least sun signs in, but that's part of the reason why I just saw that astrological event. And I thought, well, to me, at least there's, I have to say that there's this level of, usually I'm quite fiery and I just want to jump into the new year. But this year I'm like, I think I'm just going to stick my toe in it because of everything that's been happening over the last couple of years. So thank you all for joining me. And I should probably introduce myself for those that are not familiar with me. My name is Linda Marlene Eales, and I have been a Bodytalk practitioner since 2004, really more full-time since 2009. So I've been doing this energy work for a long, long time, and more than the work itself. It's definitely a lifetime and a lifestyle, and really living a philosophy. Hi, Tammy. Nice to see you too. And so for those that aren't familiar with the Bodytalk system, I think perhaps many of you are, but it is an energy-based modality. It draws a lot from Eastern philosophies and healing methods, a lot from traditional Chinese medicine and Vedic medicine, but it really does integrate, new scientific understandings. So, and even into the quantum. I won't go too much into that because I think that the session itself will speak to that. So I chose the new moon in Capricorn, as I said, because it's a new moon. So when we're talking about a new moon, we're talking about a new beginning. So it's like, what do we want? And when we're looking at the energy of Capricorn, it's, it's Saturn, it's governed by Saturn. So Saturn often is looked upon as a bit of a heavier planet, in the sense that it governs structure and often struggle. And, there was this larger astrological event that is still playing out, Saturn square Uranus. And so Saturn is really, talk about a gag order. Like it's so interesting because it's like Saturn is a very patriarchal often energy. And so it can be about, rules and structure, but it also can be about restrictions. And certainly we have seen a lot of that. And then on the other hand, this Uranus energy is the rebel. You could call Uranus the rebel archetype of the galaxies. And so this, we've seen rebellions. We're seeing that now. Rebellions even, within the United States, but not by any means limited there, rebellions against this sort of dictation from these powers that be, which are these restrictions. And this continues to go on. So to me, I find when I look at those astrological events and how they express themselves, and then how we actually see that play out in our world and in our day-to-day and personal lives, I always find that fascinating. So here we are, and you know, I will say that moving into this Capricorn new moon is a very positive thing. And I'm not necessarily one for making New Year's resolutions, because I often find that they can kind of be disappointing or hyped up. And as I mentioned, I'm not necessarily like, I am jumping in with both feet, but with the lessons of the last few years, it's not necessarily hesitation, but really wanting to be grounded in the choices I make. And Capricorn and the energy of that offers that. So the symbol is the goat, and it's really the goat that's like steady Freddy, climbing the mountain goat, climbing the mountain, right? So setting goals, but being grounded within them and being practical. I'm going to bring a little caveat into this, however, because there's also some Uranus energy that's actually in the planet of Taurus, in that energy, or that house of Taurus. So Taurus is you know, again, another earthy sort of practical. It has to do with our money and our security. So that's coming in, it actually challenges us a little bit. So I've been looking at that and also feeling that. It's like, you know, what can we do differently? And one of the things that also asks of us is, what patterns, what habit patterns do we have? Are they serving us? Can we actually start to look at new ways of structuring our day? So this is the structure of Capricorn in more of a positive way that better serves us. Can we simplify, but also outside of the box? What I've been doing, is it working for me? Can I introduce a new pattern of, say, you know, well-being, of gratitude, a practice every day? So it's just, you know, these things, I'm just putting them out there because they may come up in the session. So there's also one really a goodie I'm going to share. I think it happened. I think it was on it's another astrological event, and it is Pisces and or Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. So Pisces is super expansive. It represents the 12th astrological house, and there are 12 astrological houses. The 12th house is the house of individuation. It's about letting go of the mask, but it's also like Neptune. We're talking about the planet of Neptune. It's very, very related to water and emotions, sensitivity, and psychic ability. And so to me, this is like a very sweet thing, particularly for people that are in tune with and open to energy and wanting to connect with other realms. So I'm bringing this in because it's already started to happen, and it's really strong for this entire year. So for people that are in energy medicine, that are aligning with, you know, whatever your quest is in terms of divine knowledge, but even into the realms of more psychic, communicating with the other side, with people that are dead, that kind of energy, spirits. This is, so when Jupiter moves into any kind of planetary aspect, what it does is it expands that. So that's what this whole year is about. It's a very expansive into this mystical realm. And so for me, I get excited about this because oftentimes, you know, it's like there's been other influences in that realm over the last 10 years where we're seeing far more acceptance in energy medicine, in Reiki, but also one of the things that Neptune rules is psychedelics. So we're seeing that some psychedelic drugs are being, you know, like marijuana, they're actually being recognized. So I find that very interesting. I'm going to bring in a little bit of a dark side with this. So the dark side of Neptune can be addictions, can be excesses, can be denial, or getting kind of lost in world. So it's always about this fine balance, right? But to me, I'm just excited about just more potential in sensitivity and intuitive development. And, you know, so I just wanted to share all of that with you because I feel that it may inform the session today. I'm going to actually just peek at the chat and invite you guys to, nice to see everyone too, invite you guys, you can share it if you'd like on chat, but with that information that I've just shared with you, and I did say it's about reclaiming power, the focus of the session. So, you know, I've got a lot of focuses, but that's Linda. I'm like the macro thinker. I take all this information. I'm like, okay, how are we going to bring it into the session? So we'll see what comes up. But, you know, with that, what is it that if you were to set an intention for this new moon or a few intentions, what would they be? And you're most welcome to share them on chat, but even just for you to take a moment and think a little bit about that. I'm also going to invite you to frame it in a way that, you know, we talk about this habit pattern, this new potential for a new habit, as opposed to looking at what you don't want. Shift that to what you do want. So what do I want more of? So, you know, if I'm in a conflict with someone and I want them to be, or I want this relationship to be better, I want them to not stop doing something more so than I would like more of something else. So it's like, instead of what we don't want, focusing on what you actually do want. So take a moment, and if you have a struggle with that, that's okay. But just bringing that awareness in the power of language. So language is frequency. And, you know, with this energy of Pisces, of Neptune, the potential for shifting frequency is immense. So it's accentuated with this Jupiter energy. So when we talk about that Neptune sort of nebulous spiritual energy, we're really talking about high consciousness levels. And we're working at that high consciousness level. That's where we have a great opportunity for shifting and then bringing that into our physical manifestation, whether that is our physical health, our physical surroundings, our environment. So that's why I wanted to share that perspective, how language has a very strong influence. So using and being mindful of the choices you make and how you're asking and setting goals or setting intentions. One of the things we learn in Body Talk is that, you know, goal-oriented behavior can have its limitations. At the same time, you know, and then there's this wonderful Portuguese expression that's like, we make plans and God laughs at them. And I love that, right? Because it's like, I think a lot of us have experienced that over the last few years. That there are these greater powers that impact our choices. And I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring this power and strength in reclaiming power, because even personally, I have felt very powerless at times when dealing with the institutions through this time period. I have a couple of family members that are in institutions, and the continual restrictions with those and the challenges emotionally, particularly, but with feeling like I have no power in the situation because I haven't been able to see someone that I loved or do things that I wanted to do. And we've all experienced this through this time period. So, you know, how do we reclaim power? And so I'm not going to answer that question, but I felt very strongly about that because I've heard this in my personal sessions with people, of the sense of feeling, you know, like I can't do anything and my hands are tied and these kind of feelings. So I feel that this is an opportunity to bring in this you know, really expansive and you know, energy filled with potential of Neptune this coming year, to be able to actually start to shift those dynamics. So thank you, everyone, for sharing your intentions. And I'm just reading through them, and I think everybody can read too. So you know, it's great. I'm looking through those and and they will come in. So how Body Talk group sessions work, again, for those of you that haven't experienced this. So definitely we've come together, and it's almost like in some respects we've come together as a unit, and like as you know, a whole energy. So we've created our own energy for balancing. But I also find, I've done many of these group sessions, I also find that within that, it's kind of like working on a human body. You know, when we're working on the body, it's like, what is the priority? So we're always working in the context of the whole, but sometimes there are certain areas that actually need a little more attention. But then that actually brings it back into the whole. So when I'm working with a group, often I will focus on individuals, not naming people or even personally knowing who that is, but because their energy is going to actually help to shift everyone's energy. And they hold something that is going to represent something and for balance for all of us. So just from that understanding of like the complexity of the whole of us, but also that we will be balanced individually as well. Oh, I love that. To get my mojo back. Amen to that. I'll take that. I can definitely use some more mojo. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Adriana. The loss of your cat. I know he's been with you for a long time, and that is never ever easy. So helping to let go, and of course, when we want to bring more in, often we want to be able to let go of that which no longer is part of our lives, and helping with that, because I'm sure that he'll always be part of your life. And abundance. Okay, bring that on. Woohoo! All right, so let's get started. Unless anyone has any questions or anything prior to get going. Okay. So, and I also am just going to express my gratitude. There are a number of brilliant practitioners, Body Talk practitioners, and energy medicine practitioners also in our group today. And so thank you very much for bringing your wisdom and healing energy to the group, because that always informs and helps to shape the session. Okay, so if you would like to just find yourself in a more comfortable space, or allow your body and self to, you know, if you want to lay down wherever you are, I don't need to see you. You're part of the group. So the most important thing is that you can be comfortable, and taking whatever deep breaths are comfortable for you. So not everyone can do these deep breaths. So I invite you to take some deep breaths, and at whatever level is comfortable for you, and then just allow your body to connect with your breath, and your awareness to connect with your breath. So I use a tool called Mindscape, which is a Body Talk self-development and professional development tool. So it allows us to build a workshop in our mind for accessing more intuitive information, and as well as developing. And so I'm just going to take a tour into my Mindscape, and I'll invite the entire group in. So one of the new things, well, newer this year, I would say, that when I go into Mindscape and I'm inviting my clients in, new rooms will show up. So it's like where they want to be. And it can help to set context for whatever we're going to balance initially. So that's where we're going. And so what's actually coming up is a room that really represents the energy and vitality of the sun. And that is where the session is going to begin. And so with this sun's energy, the heart comes in, and it's very much, it's like revitalizing the heart energy, and initially revitalizing the around the heart. So the pericardium, the protective energy of the heart. So I see this as just a real energizing circulation. And I'm seeing it in a number of levels. It's happening at that energetic consciousness level of protection, as well as even intimacy, and then also right into the physiological level of the heart. It's like just the flow within the beat, and the expansion and contraction, and energizing that whole cycle with that vitality and energy of the sun. And this expands into the lungs, into your lungs, and again with this whole theme of vitality initially. So it's like definitely about revitalization to begin with here. And there is this quality of depression that is coming in for balance. And with this depression, it has a flavor, and it's like the hopelessness in a way of will this ever end? And so there's some disappointment, and the expectations, and then the letdowns, and then the expectations, and then the letdowns, and so it's like an expansive and then a contraction of this energy that is ready to shift. So I'm actually getting more of a visual with this, and I'm seeing it as like almost like a kaleidoscope of little fragments of these memories, these emotional disappointments, and that have created a heaviness of energy in impacting the vitality. So there's this energy of the fire element coming in here, with the sun's energy, and the fire element, it's like a plug-in of the fire element. When I say plug-in, I'm getting that we're working with the 4 meridians of the fire element: the heart, small intestine, triple heater, and pericardium energy. So bringing in a plug-in with these fire element energies into the lungs, and into even the underlying subconscious level beliefs that can perpetuate this sense of helplessness and hopelessness, and disappointment with expectations, and hence depression. So I'm going to invite everyone to keep taking deep breaths. Okay, so supporting this is a diaphragmatic release. So the diaphragm really sits underneath your lungs and on top of your digestive system, and with each breath, it moves and helps your whole body to enhance the circulation at all levels, as well as helping you to process your emotions and digest what is happening around you. So I'm just tapping into the energy of this release. So you think about when we're upset or when we have something that happens, it's like that kind of tightness that happens. And we have enough of that, we can start to hold our breath, and that can express itself in this inability to fully take life in or fully accept what's happening in our lives. So the priority here is to balance at a natural consciousness level within your diaphragm. And as soon as I say that, I see the diaphragm, I see a drain start to, it's like we need to drain the diaphragm. It's like this drain is coming out, and it's almost visceral. There's this, it's like almost like a sludgy kind of emotional debris that is just starting to come out here for processing, neutralizing, and digesting. And this is, like the role of grief in a way, grief to help us to move these emotions and this stuck quality to help to open up to more of that vitality. So that's the first formula. And again, it's like I just continue to see the energy of the sun surrounding this and revitalizing this whole first formula. So in Body Talk, we do a tapping technique, and I'm going to invite you to join me if you'd like. You can put one hand over your heart, as that has been where our focus is. And taking deep breaths, gently tapping over your head at whatever pace you feel, but gentle is the key, and then tapping over your heart. And then tapping over your belly. So this tapping is to bring awareness to and resources throughout your whole body to this new information, this formula, to help to bring those resources in so that your body is able to shift and make the changes. I typically do 2 cycles of tapping and breathing. So sometimes we can feel a shift when we are doing this, and where you'll just feel like maybe a more of a brightness, or you can actually feel a relief somewhere in your body, or even more clarity from your eyes or through your senses. So you don't always have to feel that. How this can play out is it can actually, you may feel changes immediately, but it may take some time. So this first formula is no longer a priority, but there's a lot of energy now coming in, so it's almost like this swirl of color just came into the space around the whole group. And it is definitely astrological in its energy and influence. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One is that I'm definitely getting the energy of Neptune. So we're in a way opening up an umbrella or a quality of Neptune to support or inform the next formula. But there's also a lot of movement with this, and the emotion of anger in relation to this. So I'm not getting more information on that. It's coming up more as a overarching theme. So I'm just observing this energy. And so the words willpower is coming in here, and there's a couple of areas in the body that this is expressing or coming up, and one is the kidneys, and the other are the knees. And so again, this is initially a macro perspective of, and like it's individual, very individual, but it represents the power, the forces that have, and how we've responded to that power, and control. Really, control is a better word here. So it's like having to, often not having a choice, but to go along with, where we prefer to resist. And so it's that energy that's coming up. So it's like a struggle of wills. So within this, it leads me right into the kidney energy. I'm just going to bring a little bit more in here. When we talk about Neptune, we're definitely talking about water and the water element. And so from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, the new year will actually be the water tiger. So it's also a water year. So there's this parallel happening with some of the astrological events from the Western perspective as well as the Eastern perspective. And so this, when we're looking at this water element, the water element in the body governs the kidneys, governs the adrenals, and our knees. So the kidney energy governs our knees. And we look at willpower and the knees. We're talking about fear as well, right? Because what fear propels us forward. That's part of our will to live. Like at a most basic level, willpower is the will to keep going. And fear generates the energy for that. But part of this is also our intuition. And that's what's really coming in here. So it's like it's almost, I don't want to say it's a balancing, but it's coming up as well to this battle of the wills. So within this battle of the wills is expressing itself as this conflict. So I'm just bringing that in because that's how it's coming up to observe. But then when I go into depth within the kidney energy, it's more this intuitive. So why would the intuition be associated with this water element? Because it's a very deep yin inward energy, and intuition arises from deep within, but it's also connecting us with source, right? That information that comes from the void, from all that is. And so this intuition, I'm just going to go into this, and I'm going into the 12th astrological house. So this is when I go into this 12th house again, it's like, I don't know why anger keeps coming up in here, but okay. I'm like, oh, it's just every time I go in, it's so much anger. But this is also the house that governs institutions like hospitals, like long-term care homes, like, these macro institutions, governments, really, yeah, like institutions that control. And so this is where this anger is coming in. So I'm again going to invite everyone to take a couple of deep breaths, because so within this anger it's towards deception, towards being deceived and betrayed and manipulated. And so with this blame, but also, with this kind of hopelessness that came up a little bit earlier. So these qualities coming in to be observed as beliefs, right? Because there's still a perception. So, is it reality that we have been deceived, that we're being duped, or we've been betrayed? Or is it our perspective on that? And so this is about helping to start to shift the frustration and anger about those things within this energy for us, to open up to the potential of its higher expression, or its more natural expression of intuition and divine guidance and individuation. So I'm getting another visual. It's like I'm seeing the 12th house as a room, or as a place. And there's this real, it's like I'm seeing it initially as an institution, and as an institution that represents these institutions. And it's like there's this real transformation actually happening within this. And so this is the observer, right? Like, this is us being the observer, being able to see the potential for transformation within these institutions, not being limited by the emotions or blame of the past, but actually shifting that into seeing the potential for a positive change, in that these institutions are to be of service to us. So it's really a shift on that perspective. And that starts to, like, there's just this release and relief of that anger that comes up with this. So, I was feeling pulled towards the first house, after we go through a cycle. And that's what these 12 houses are about. It's like we will often go through the 12th house and then go into the first house. But what's actually happening is that first house energy is actually coming into the 12th house. So we're staying within the 12th house, but it's the new beginnings within this. And there is something just came to me, that there is an astrological event that happens, I believe, May, June, maybe a little bit later, where Aries will actually be going into this Piscean Neptune energy. And so that is also, it's like probably reflecting that in some way. So bringing this first house energy into the first house is ruled by Aries. It's like, it's the very physical ego. I can do anything, I can get it started, and that kind of energy. And so but it's actually coming into this 12th astrological house to bring some fire and activity into this new beginning, into this 12th astrological house. So it's really firing up individuation. So that is, really letting go of that word habit patterns is coming up, what I talked about a little bit before. It's like, what thoughts, what fears, what inhibitions, what behaviors that come from these are no longer serving me, and starting to shed. And there's this real reinvention, and that Uranus energy that is coming in to this as well. So it's like, it's reinventing yourself, or if not reinventing, shedding the masks that limit your potential. expression, and creativity. So it doesn't often happen, but I've got the chakras coming in. So it's like the chakras are coming in, and it really, it's like the root, the sacral, the power, and the heart chakras. It's these three, you could, in a way, security, power, relationships, self-esteem, self-love. These qualities are, it's like, how I'm seeing this is that we're drawing this balancing within this 12th house and first house energy within this up through these 4 chakras, and bringing in the power of that transformation in through to integrate into this expression. So there's this real, again, it's like going back to that revitalization and movement of this. And it's also that kidney energy again. It's like, okay. So being in the 12th astrological house, that Piscean, Neptune, mystical energy can also bring the opportunity for, visions and enhancing our sensory, our subtle senses, our clairaudience, our deeper creative connection. And that, so it's like this whole integration is coming up in this, it's actually through the sense of sight. So it's like this whole first formula, and then linking this, or this whole second formula, linking it into this subtle sense of sight, this whole individuation process. So when we talk about balancing the subtle sense of sight, it's, that is your ability to see deeply and have see into your future, or even into other people's future, see inward, connect into and more deeply into your own intuition, into your own psychic abilities, and even potentially that mediumship quality that I was talking about, or even potential channeling. So it's like, that is what inhibitions, what have we learned in our lives that have limited that natural expression of our sense of subtle sight. And so when we're balancing at this level, that's part of what we are balancing, is helping to clear those beliefs that, whether they usually have been projected onto us, but we've adopted them, right, at some level. Even what are the fears that inhibit that? So it's like, really just bringing this whole thing and integrating it into that subtle sense of sight, and anchoring that into your heart for this whole individuation process. We're going to tap this one in. So once again, so the hand positions, this time I'm actually inviting you to focus on your kidneys. So, that can be just even putting your hands over your front of your belly, because your kidneys are really in the back, or you can just put them right on the back, whatever you like. One hand on the back, and then gentle tapping to bring awareness to the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain of this new information, and to bring in the resources to help to integrate and shift and change that which is ready to integrate, shift, and change. So as I was tapping that in the, I just have to have a sip of my tea. Oh, I just have to show you guys my thumb. What is so funny about this is that it's actually this tiny little cut that I got, and I had no Band-Aids. I have this new puppy, and so she doesn't realize that this is part of me. And so she keeps biting at it, thinking it's a toy. And I'm like, puppy, that's me. Anyway, just have to share that because I just think it's funny. So what came up as I'm tapping that out, usually it's like the next theme opens up and the jester or the fool archetype came in. Excuse me. So the jester or the fool, and we think April Fools, that archetype, it fascinates me. It's the energy of being able to, it can be a power balancer in a way, you know. It's like the court jester, that was part of their responsibility to please and amuse the court, but also to make fun of the king and queen in a way that would highlight the imbalance of power, to help to remind them of the power that they held. So, but also it's just to also say to ourselves, like, you know, don't take yourself so seriously. And I mean, I'm a Capricorn. I know what serious is. Like, I really, it's like that Capricorn energy is very like, life is very serious and we need to take, you know, serious steps. But oftentimes it's like, we'll take ourselves so seriously, even our healing. It's a serious business that we're totally involved. We're all self-absorbed with ourselves, right? And so this jester, joker energy is coming in and saying, lighten up, people. It's like we're at the beginning of a new year, and yeah, we've all been through hell, and some of us more hell than others, but it's like, okay, it's not the end necessarily, right? So that energy is coming in. I don't know how it's going to play out, but it's just coming in, and it's yay, frankly. Like I tell you, I can use a little lightening up. So I'm just going to ask where we're going with this. Where are we going, jester? So the jester is actually sitting on like just this wealth of gems and gold and stuff, like, and I'm like, okay, well, this is looking better all the time. Okay, so what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with that, jester? Okay, so this is like not what I expected, but you know, really, what do I know, right? So we're going right to your crown chakra, you know, woohoo, the portal. So we're going to the crown chakra. Jester is like, let's have a little dance up here. Okay. Yes. So quite literally, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the little crown, and the jester is doing this little dance around the crown chakra. Again, it's like activation of creativity and joy within the divine, right? So it's just such a great, yeah, so it's like, okay, this is fun. I mean, honestly, I think healing is serious. And of course, you know, when we have clients that come to us or people that come to us and it is serious, it can be incredibly serious, but it's also, there's just the opportunity for joy and creativity and a lightness of being within our divine or spiritual connection with divine or our, you know, each other, right? So it's this whole lightening up energy. And it's also about new beginnings, right? It's like, you know, the thing I love about the Fool archetype is if we're not willing to be a fool, we're not willing to begin something new, because it takes the courage to say, I am willing to be a fool and make a mistake. But we're never going to know unless we try, right? So it's like that willingness to take a leap and not take ourselves so serious, not be so attached to the outcome. And this is, you know, it took me a long time to figure out what attachment was, what it meant, involvement, attachment. But it's like, yeah, I'm so attached to what I want that I'm not even going to start because I'm afraid that I'm going to look stupid, it's like all of these reasons. So it's like, what a gift that this Fool has come in to help us to co-create and create what we want in our lives. So yay. So now he's doing a little leap right into your third eye chakra. And so within this, I'm actually going to go into a pathological balancing. And so when we say pathological, it's funny, actually, like it's like words have energy, right? So I've actually tried to think of all these different ways I could actually say pathological, but it's like, well, it's pathological, Linda, so just say it. So what does pathological mean? Well, it actually means something different for every person. And in the sense that when we're talking about balancing something, one balance for one person is going to be completely different for another person. So for example, let's say, you know, you're too reactive. Okay, you're too reactive, you go off the deep end really quickly and you overreact. Okay, so what if that balancing, we all need to be calm and not reactive. Well, what if I'm a kid that I'm living in a very dangerous neighborhood? And if I don't have really sharp, strong reactive skills, then I could be dead. So it's contextual. So when I say pathological, it's all about a sphere of balance, right? So, you know, it's very individual to each of us and to what is happening in our lives. So I just wanted to give my little disclaimer there, because apparently I'm still really uncomfortable with this word pathological. So anyway, let's keep going. I'm being the fool. So let's go into this pathological balancing within the pituitary third eye chakra, and it's creativity. I have an orientation, and it's to money. So when we're balancing a pathological consciousness of creativity, in this case, related to money, what we're doing is helping to shift, and particularly in the third eye chakra, right? And that is our insight, our intuition, our creativity, our transformative chakra, is to balance limiting beliefs, perspectives, patterns that inhibit the highest creative expression in relation to money in your life. So a nice balancing. And so again, it's like for whatever you need. And we're anchoring this to your heart. There's a satellite coming up, and the satellite is to the throat chakra. And the satellite in the throat chakra, it's about power, the power of expression. So I'm just going to use the visual because that's how it's coming up. So it's like I'm seeing the yellow shine around your throat chakra within this satellite energy. And so the yellow is the power chakra. So it's like the power is kind of behind your throat chakra, the power of your voice. So there's something about that in relation to this pituitary third eye chakra balancing. And so the power in your voice, I'm going to bring a little more into this too, because it's also the throat chakra not only governs our expression, but it also governs our hearing. And when we're talking about hearing, we're talking about receiving and, you know, the power in our receiving. So, you know, how many filters do we have that can impact what we're actually tuning into or able to hear? So there's a part of that within this satellite in relation to this whole creativity balancing within your third eye chakra. Sorry, I keep smiling because I'm like, I'm totally seeing the jester again. He's like, he's having a really good time. So now I kind of slid down. He's got this little seat and he's just got his legs crossed right over your third eye chakra here. So I'm just going to tap into that energy and see. It's like, oh, there's a little more that wants to happen up here. He wants to have a little more fun. Okay. Okay, so what's coming up is actually the visionary quality of, well, it's more than that actually. So it's the visionary quality when you're talking about the third eye chakra in relation to your eyes, you know, that you're able to plan ahead to see your future. And if we can envision it, we can start to create it. So there's part of that, but there's more to this. And what's coming up here is being able to actually envision the future or tune in to the future. And with the jester, there's this energy. It's actually more of a being able to tune into potential danger. So it's actually, it's like just being, and when I say danger or, you know, something that may go awry, being able to actually tune into the potential for, something that it's like, okay, so what in the future? Maybe like one of the things that comes to mind for me is, okay, so our price is going up. Is there inflation happening? Like, you know, different areas that can then come back and influence you. So being able to just better tune in to that, like connect into that. So envision as well as visionary. That's it. So we're going to tap that in. So with the Joker here, the Fool, and starting with the first priority, which is the balancing of the crown chakra, activation of more joy and creativity, of that willingness, that Fool energy, and how that might open you up more, and then into that transformation. These deep breaths and the gentle tapping over your head, over your heart, over your belly. Nice. So there's another something coming up, and it is the flow, the quality, the power of water. Okay, so the power of water, when you look at water as a force of nature, it's quite phenomenal, actually. You know, you can, like, it will move around anything. There are no obstacles. Well, I guess there might be a few obstacles trying to contain water, but over time, even, it's like water is just such an incredible force. And the ability of water to be able to actually move in and out of challenges and flow and go with the flow of life. So it's like, yeah, you're putting this big boulder is just shown up. Well, I'm just gonna slide over here and move around it. So it's that quality that is power in a way, right? It's not, sort of a traditional power of the boulder. This is more of the power of being able to actually be adaptable and flexible, and to be able to actually to go with the flow of those challenges or new potentials that come your way. So it's that energy that is coming in from this Neptune Piscean. So interestingly, it's coming up within the Wei Qi, your protective energy. So the Wei Qi is energy that runs just above at the level out and just below your skin. And it protects us. It also helps to sort of decide, hey, what's going to come in, what's not going to come in, what do I need, what do I do not need from my environment. So it really does help. It defines our relationship in a way with our environment, and certain things can influence the health and well-being of our Wei Qi, our beliefs about things or attachments, but even in projections, we can have energy scars. There's a lot of different things. So, and I mean, really, it's like anywhere there's an exposure to an external environment, there is Wei Qi. So this flow, this power is being balanced within the Wei Qi, which is fascinating to me. I didn't know that that's where we were going, but if you think about it, it's like, well, what does that mean for your protective shield? It's like there's a fluidity and a flexibility, but also my sense is this movement of being able to say, okay, that's coming at me, I can move out of the way. Like it's that level of awareness. And I will say that the Wei Qi is, has its own intelligence. So it's not like you have to consciously necessarily tell your Wei Qi, hey, this is coming. It's like, no, it has its own energy and intelligence, and definitely is works with the meridians and the elements to keep us strong and but also interactive with our environment. So very cool that this is balancing into the Wei Qi. And I'm linking this, or I would say even grounding it into the gallbladder energy. And I'm getting a further definition on this of both, to me, I see them as the same thing, decision making and catalysts. So like catalyst is something like something will come and catalyze an action. We can look at a very minute chemical reaction, which is a catalyst. But we can also have, like someone comes into our lives and, is like a new person or something. And all of a sudden, bang, it's like our life has just changed, or an event happens and it's a catalyst. Those can also create decisions. So it's like decisions that aren't necessarily always conscious either. So it's that kind of energy that's coming in here. Oh, and water conducts electricity. Doesn't it? It's like, it conducts catalysts. So I don't know what's in store for you people, but it sounds good. Just that catalytic kind of energy. So integrating that as well, or grounding that within that. So there's just, I'm not sensing stasis. Okay. This is momentum. And that's it. We were going to tap that in. So for hand positions, I'm actually getting holding your navel. So the navel also, you think about it, it's like we're born, or prior to being born, what's our first connection to our mom, right? It's our umbilical cord. So that's our environment until we're born. And so then the navel represents our connection to what's out there, our environment, connections to our family, connections to each other. So holding your hand over your belly button and nice deep breaths, we're going to tap this, this water this adaptability, this power into the Wei Qi, grounding within the gallbladder, energy of catalyst and decision making. All right. So that, thank you very much, is the end of this session. And I really appreciate you taking time to bring your energy to the group so that this could happen, because I know that each and every one of you help to shape what comes up and also amplifies the shifts that we all experience. So I feel that I will do another group session within 2 weeks. I don't know that I'm going to start doing them regularly. That's just so much fun. But because I also have something else up my sleeve, that a program that I'm going to be launching on my own. My plan is February. We'll see how that goes. But whichever the case, I'll certainly be in touch. And yes, Happy New Year. Yeah. Thank you to everyone. And really, thank you so much for joining. And I will let you know what the subject will be in a couple of weeks. I may build on this because I feel that this Neptune energy there's so much potential within this for all of us. And I had a practitioner a couple of years ago. She had been working with me a few sessions, and she said that I would be connecting with dead people. And I found that very interesting. It's not an area that I would say that I was ever necessarily drawn to, and it wasn't something I grew up with. But shortly after that, I did actually, or was I connecting with them, or were they connecting with me? But I also had some clients that started to connect with that. And so in whatever that means, so I think maybe I'll dive into that a little bit more as well, because I find it a fascinating realm. And it seems that energetic supports are there for us to potentially explore that, right? Whether it's like past lives or, parallel lives. Like, I think there's a lot going on that we don't necessarily see, but how much fun would it be to, or maybe not always fun, but just, the insights and opportunities for growth and new awarenesses. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. And I wish you all the very, very best in this new year. I'll talk to you, hopefully, I'll be in touch in a couple of weeks. Okay. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Jackie.
So I'm
Thanks for joining, Annie.